Okay, this is an update on my Brazilian walnut and Brazilian cherry table with the little oak accents here and on the table legs. All the dark wood is Brazilian walnut. All the edges are Brazilian cherry. And these little accent pieces are the red oak. This has got about 5 coats, or 6 coats. 6 coats of tung oil. And this is the product that I use, is just Minwax tung oil finish. It's a good low-tech finish for getting fairly good results without having a spray booth and a lot of really expensive equipment. Basically, to apply the tung oil, you get your wood to your desired finish as far as the sanding is concerned. Say like this, for instance, has been wet sanded with 12 or 600 grit, but when you wet sand, it's like the equivalent of 1200 grit. So this table has been wet sanded with 600 grit. Then you clean all the dust off with some mineral spirits here, and that gets all the dust off, and then you just let the mineral spirits flash off, and then you take a rag here, it even kind of shows it on the cover, and some gloves, and you just kind of wipe it on, let it set for about 5 to 10 minutes, and they suggest buffing it after that, but for me, I just kind of didn't really buff it. I let it stand for about 10 minutes and then kind of squeezed out my rag to get the excess off of it, and then kind of went along the grain with the grain of the wood, the full length of the table, just to kind of knock down any bubbles or high spots, and left kind of the thickness on there. So you can kind of see that you have some spots that are really super glossy, like let's see, this one for instance, this red one, it's really super glossy. It does have some, this thing's not auto-focusing very well. There we go. It's fairly glossy. You can kind of see some dry spots, and that's just from the grain of the wood kind of being recessed a little bit lower than the surface. And by the time I get to the point to where I've put 10 coats on those, most of those little dry spots will be filled in. These, let's see, can't really see that well, but these little spots where the oak accents are, those are actually fairly little deep indentations, because the oak is like a really open pore wood in spots, and those probably will not be completely level, but the more coats that I get, they'll just seal up. This one's pretty glossy. This one has some little pores that are still kind of like indented down, but for the most part it's fairly glossy. This one, you can see the little dry spot right here where the pores are a little bit more open grained. Those will take a little more time to fill, but they are fillable, but it just does take, it's time consuming. I can only do about 1 coat per day. So you just basically do the process, step away from it, and come back to it the next day and do your wet sanding and put on another coat. And yeah, in about 4 more days or so, I will have a tabletop that's absolutely beautiful, fairly level. There'll be some these little open pores that are still there, but I'm gonna get those down to just about almost nothing. That's the goal anyways. I'm getting there. As you can see, this one's fairly glossy, with, you see kind of like the reflection kind of picking up those little pinholes from the pores, and this one's actually got some really dry spots. You can see that little starts here and kind of goes up into here, And those are the open pores. Those kind of create what kind of looks like dry spots. But yeah, 4 or 5 more coats, and those will be pretty much to the point to where they're going to be done. They'll still be there, but for the most part, it'll be fairly level. And then I'll get to the polishing process, which will probably use this little random orbit buffer, and this I think I got some 3M rubbing compound. I'll probably use this to buff it out, and then take some kind of beeswax, orange oil kind of combination to just do a final buffing after I get all that residue off the table. Yeah, it should be looking pretty glossy and bright by that time. It may just even hurt your eyes to look at it. Guess it's almost... My shop's not very well lit. If it was in natural light, it would be really super bright. So this is part of my art. It's kind of a hobby, and makes me a little bit of money from time to time. Cool, that's it. Bye.